ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात्कृते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो हरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. So the method of analysis which is employed in Mandukya is this: three states of experience. It is a particular method to arrive at the nature of oneself. And these three states of experiences are waking, dream and deep sleep. And in this analysis, scripture basically here, Mandukya Upanishad, employ reasoning. Very important. Employ reasoning. Of course, Shruti is there, but Yukti also. And Anubhava is three states. So, Shruti employs a reasoning to arrive at the true nature of oneself, the I. The waker and waking world are absent in dream or deep sleep. The dreamer and the dream world are absent in waking and in deep sleep. In deep sleep, the state of the dreamer and the waker is absent. So if the status of the subject, the I, is real, like a waker is real, then I cannot give up that status at any time. If the waker, if the status of oneself, the subject, is just a dreamer, real, then I cannot give it up. If the status of oneself is a deep sleeper, means I am deep sleeper by nature, then I cannot give it up. So basically what is intrinsic to an object should be present in the object as long as the object exists. And so if it is not present, so then definitely it's an incidental attribute. So there is a self and there is a waker and the waking world. Basically, the waker and waking world is present, not intrinsically. I exist, but the wakerhood and the waking world doesn't exist. As long as I exist independent of them. Therefore, the entire waking state, whatever obtains, subject, object I am saying here, in Shastra it's called Virāt. That's fine because consciousness along with that world, identified with the world, is Virāt. I am taking here as a subject object because that's a Drishti Srushti Vada. So this subject object, if I am waker and there is a waking world, the object, so if the subject is just a waker, I am just a waker, that's a reality, then as long as I exist, the wakerhood exists, should exist. But it's not. It's not. And therefore, this, whatever obtains in the waking state, we call prathama pada. In the waking experience, as a subject-object, waker and the waking world, this entire thing is an incidental attribute. And the famous example, of course, I gave it to you. And very, very apt example is a clear crystal. Assume the color in the presence of a colored object. So if the color is intrinsic to the crystal, it will be present as long as the crystal exists. But when the colored object is taken away, well, the color seen in the crystal also disappears. And therefore the color assumed by the crystal is incidental. Means when the color was present in the crystal, the crystal was colorless. Yeah. So in the sleep experience and also in the waking state, between two successive thoughts where there is an absence of the subject-object relationship, there is no status of the self as the subject and the world as an object. In a deep sleep state, the subject-object, the waker, waking world, the dreamer, dream world, subject-object, in a deep sleep, entire thing goes away. The very subject-object connection and the subject-object, everything goes away. In fact, even in a waking state, between two successive thoughts, you, the subject, the waker, and you are experiencing the waking world, the object. Between two successive thoughts, in a thought, well, there is definitely aham as a subject, the idam as the object, that is there. But then there is a next thought. Between two successive thoughts also, you are there naturally. You are very much there to pick up a new thought. But you exist without being subject-object, even in a waking state. Could you follow? That is how, but Swamiji, there is no called successive thoughts. The mind generates, the conscious mind generates thoughts. Aham vritti, idam vritti. Both are generated. Conscious mind generates. You, the consciousness, alone appears as this aham and idam. In any state. In a dream also, you, the consciousness, appear as both the types of thoughts. Please understand me. Don't think that you are reflected. This is some medium away from you, and in the medium you are reflected, and that reflected consciousness away from consciousness. Let's leave it. This is a dangerous. I mean, it has its own advantage, but we cannot remain without imagining this kind of a thing. There is a separate medium, and there is I am somewhere else, and I am getting reflected, like the sun is quite away and the water is here, and all that kind of a thing. In fact, You appear in the mind. You, the consciousness. What the conscious mind means, you appear in the mind as good as consciousness. You, the consciousness, appear in the mind as good as consciousness. How as good as? Because it is name and form. That's how I say as good as. The water obtained in the wave is as good as water. Why as good as, Swamiji? You say wave is water. Then you are definitely excluding name and form. If you don't exclude, I will say as good as. Means, in a conscious mind, all the thoughts, aham and idam, you alone are there. You alone are there with the I thought. You alone are there in the form of a idam thought. So, the Pramātā vritti, if you remember the 10th chapter of Panchadashi which we did, I am reminding you. Here what is obtained as a Pramātā vritti, ahankara, and pramāṇa vritti, jnana vritti, cognitions. You alone are there. And also, in a waking state, there is a waking world, Prameya. That also you go out. That's how waking state is called external consciousness. We'll be seeing that. Consciousness that is external. But Swamiji, consciousness is one without the second, which is limitless, cannot be external. Correct. With the mind. In keeping the mind as a upādhi, something is external, something is internal. Not you. Therefore, if you think you are a consciousness, if you know you are a consciousness, you are as a pramātā. You are as a pramāṇa, jnana vritti. You are as a prameya. How can you say you are prameya? What is outside is also you. Start with the space. Where is space without you? Where is space? No space exists. Space exists independent of you. Which you? Which you? Independent of pramātā. But in fact, you are not pramātā. You appear as a pramātā because of the association with this mithya mind. You are in the form of you, the consciousness. You, the consciousness, is in the form of a aham vritti and idam vritti, pramātā and pramāṇa. You alone are in the form of this external world, space consciousness, time consciousness, mountain consciousness. You alone are there. Therefore, pramātā, pramāṇa, prameya, etc., all in a waking state, the subject and the object and the cognition of object, which you will own up as a subject. In fact, the result of the phalam, the result of the knowledge of any given thing goes to the subject, the pramātā. That's how it's called pramātā. The subject is pramātā because the phalam of the vritti, any vritti, will go to pramātā. Pramātā owns it. I see, he says. I see an object. So there is a jnana vritti here, and consciousness, of course, is there. Consciousness alone is in the form of aham vritti and idam vritti. Aham vritti is right there with the consciousness. And this also, there is a pramāṇa, jnana vritti of this, becomes cognition naturally, jnana vritti, with the help of consciousness. And the result of that, jnanam, goes to whom? The pramātā. So he says, I know a object. Once you say, I am a knower of this object, means definitely the result of this jnana vritti, which is arising in this antakarana, goes to ahankara. Therefore, you, the consciousness, are alone in the form of a pramātā, pramāṇam, jnana vritti, cognitions, and the objects also. So this is, you alone appear as the waker in the waking state, subject in the object. I will drop this pramāṇa vritti now. You are the subject and you are the object. That's your first state. It's your first state. Please understand me. And there is no external consciousness, then the internal consciousness. Again subject object. Again, dreamer and the dream world, you alone are. There is I thought. Yeah, there is I thought. And there is a dream world, which is object. I thought, that is subject. You alone are in the form of this dreamer and the dream world, subject object. Second pada. And therefore, and the third, very subject object state, both the thing goes away. The knower and the known, everything goes away. And therefore, the subject object status is purely incidental. You are not a subject and there is no object in the dream state, in the deep sleep state. And therefore, there is no status of the self as the subject and the world as an object in a deep sleep state. And subject-object status must be incidental. Analyzing this experience is only the scripture present the self as the one, free from all attributes imputed to it. And that is called Turiya. Could you follow? That's called Turiya. So they are purely incidental and not intrinsic. The deep sleeper and the waker and the dreamer and the deep sleeper, or whatever is present in the deep sleep, etc. Well, you are basically free from all the three states. Because the very deep sleeper also is incidental. When you wake up, the whole deep sleep, your status as a deep sleeper goes away. Therefore, definitely, that's also incidental. You are the one who is basically, it will be shown here also later, that you are the one who are able to connect to all the three states, independent of all the three states. They are purely incidental, not intrinsic. So if the self is attribute free, neither a waker in the waking world, neither a dreamer in the dream world, neither a deep sleeper, etc. If it is totally attribute free, then definitely it must be a non-existent entity. Any existent thing has some attributes. And therefore it is free from all attributes. If it is free from attributes, it is non-existent thing. It cannot be. Because the very concept of non-existent itself, concept of a non-existent itself is a piece of knowledge, implying a subject. And the nature of the self is knowledge, consciousness, basically witness. So all these words means the content of the subject here. And so the knower, which invariable knower, non-changing knower, which I talked to you, which we call as a witness, the consciousness. And that is consciousness is, which is Turiya, the fourth state, is invariably in all the states of experience, while consciousness itself is free from any attribute belonging to the three states. And therefore we call it fourth, but the fourth is present in all the three. All the three, are mithya. So when the scripture used the word attribute free self, it means the nature of the self is just pure consciousness. All other attributes, doership, enjoyership, etc. are purely incidental. So this is a method presented here to unfold the fact that you are Brahman, and entire world in any state, in form of subject object, entire world in any state, in any pada, is incidental attribute. The waker and waking world is incidental attribute to you. And that you are the Brahman or the Atma. Everything else is apparent. In all the three pādas, what is there is just apparent. You are the Satyam, Turiya, that's the fourth state. So this is the prakriya which is employed here. And right now we are in the third pada. And as I told you, the first pada in which the waking world is also associated with the consciousness Atma, and therefore it's called Virāt. The Atma which is associated with the samashti. Why Atma Samaji? Brahman? No. We have to always remember Sarvam hi etad Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma. And therefore Soyam Atma Chatushpat. Therefore this is the 4 quarters of a Brahman or 4 quarters of a Atma. Same thing. Therefore Atma associated with the samashti, the world, the gross world, is called Virāt. Atma associated with the gross body, of course, through the Karana and Sukshma also, is Vishva. So that's your first state. So Vishva and Virāt are your incidental attributes of yourself. So entire waking state, when you go to the dream state, you don't carry anything. If anything is intrinsic, will carry forward. Incidental cannot be carried forward. Yeah. And that is how you enjoy the dream state as a dreamer and the dream world, subject object. That's the second pada. The third pada is discussed in a 5th and 6th mantra. First pada in a 3rd mantra, the second pada in a 4th mantra. 5th mantra discusses this Prājña, again incidental status, deep sleeper. And the 6th pada, the 6th mantra discusses the samashti, that is Īśvara here. And so, but it is equated because the mantra begins with Eshaha. The 5th mantra discusses Prājña, and 6th mantra starts with Eshaha. Means this Prājña alone is Sarveshvara. This Prājña alone is a Īśvara. What obtains in a deep sleep state, even when you don't experience a Veshti Samashti Bheda, there is one thing, the Veshti Samashti Bheda which you experience in 2 states, in the form of a subject object goes away totally. It's amazing. Veshti Samashti Bheda itself goes away. Therefore, Swamiji, nothing is there. Veshti is also not there, Samashti is not there. Hey, Samashti is there. Veshti resolves into Samashti. That's how it is. Samashti is very much there, Īśvara is very much there, which is the cause. Cause cannot go away of everything. And therefore, definitely the Prājña resolves into Īśvara. But Prājña resolves with that dakkan, with that lead, avarana. And therefore, as he wakes up, he says, I am Prājña, I am a waker. You resolve into Īśvara, you and Īśvara, the very experiential difference between you and Īśvara goes away. Experiential difference. Experiential difference which is experienced in 2 states, you take it as a real because you experience it. You need not have to take real. What is experienced is real. That's a wrong understanding. Science has proved it and we have proved it. What you experience is real, is due to avarana. There is no reality in it. Where because the upādhi, definitely attributes of the upādhi you impute upon yourself, which is free from subject object, free from even Veshti Samashti also. Well, because of that, in 2 states you remain with this error. I am different, Īśvara is different. Or I am different, the world is different, whatever you want to say. Subject-object division. That goes away. Experiential difference itself goes away. That's a 3rd state. So there here it says, Eshaha Sarveshvara. This Prājña is a Sarveshvara. Is a Nimitta Karanam of everything. And that we have seen it. I am not going again into that. And then, well, if it is a Nimitta Karanam, then definitely Jīva is different. If Īśvara is a Nimitta Karanam, Jīva must be different. Nimitta Karanam means who creates, but not what is created is Īśvara. Then Jiva and Jagat both are created. Therefore, he is different from the world. Being Nimitta Karanam, he is different from the world. He is different from the Jiva also, which is part of this world. And therefore, definitely, Jiva Īśvara Bheda will be there. Therefore, Acharya quoted very beautifully, that is what the Nayayikas view. No. We have said, well, definitely, Prāṇa Bandhanam hi Somya Manaha. Very beautifully discussed in a Chandogya describing a deep sleep state. It is said, this Manaha means Mana Upadika Jivaha, right? This Jiva means what? Now you know, understand same consciousness with Aham Vritti. Who says I am a subject, the knower, the Jiva, I am individual. Individual. Ahankara means individual. Basically, you are consciousness. But that this conscious mind, you make the mind conscious. And therefore, you appear in the form of these two vrittis, Aham Vritti and Idam Vritti. So you take yourself as Ahankara. And, well, definitely, and of course, what happens in the mind also, that also you own up. A desire arises, you say, I am a desirer. A thought of some decision, you say, I am a decider, etc. Or I decide. And some emotion appears, you say, well, I am angry, or I am compassionate. Whatever happens in mind, you own up as a Ahankara. Yeah. And that mind is called Antakarana, where all the thoughts occur. Where thoughts occur is Antakarana. One who owns up the thought is Ahankara. The same mind, Aham Vritti, Idam Vritti. So you alone are there. In a conscious mind, you are consciousness. So the consciousness appear in this Ahankara in the form of Aham Vritti, and exactly like this. Exactly. You try to match the water appears as a wave. Water alone appears as a wave. I alone appear as a mind. I am present in the mind. I alone appear present in the mind. It doesn't look good because you feel present in the mind means mind is something which is real, is a container kind of a thing, and I am there as something which is contained. No, it is not. Water alone appears as a wave. Varieties of the waves appear. Very beautiful. For thought, the best example is this waves. All thoughts, totally remaining non-separate from consciousness, appear. That's called mind. Aham Vritti is of course there. And that is also this consciousness alone is Ahankara. Anyway, so subject, object, etc. So my point is, so Nimitta Karana means Īśvara is different from the Jiva, you. No. Prāṇa Bandhanam is Somya Manaha. So the mind basically culminates, resolves in a deep sleep state into prana, that is Paramatma, which we had discussed very well. So all the time it is connected to prana, and this Jiva is non-separate from the prana. And therefore, if Īśvara is a Nimitta Karanam, Jiva and Īśvara would be different. But if Jiva resolves into Paramatma in the deep sleep state, then definitely Īśvara is not just Nimitta Karanam. So even though Sarveshvara word, Sarvajña word, Antaryami, which we will be seeing, that word indicates a Nimitta Karanam. Because the sixth mantra discusses Īśvara, equating with the Prājña, of course, which is discussed in the fifth mantra. But the Sarveshvara, Sarvajña, etc. indicates just a Nimitta Karanam. In that case, I, the Jiva, temporarily, I, the Jiva, cannot be one with the Īśvara. Different. Therefore, mantra itself is going to say Yonihi. Yonihi means the Upadana Karanam, etc. So Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam both will be this Īśvara alone, that is indicated in the sixth mantra, and that is equated with the Prājña. Prājña is this Īśvara which is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. You are Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam of the entire Jagat. You alone is the creator through the Maya Upadhi. Definitely. What are you saying? I am with the Maya Upadhi. But which I? No, I, the individual, over Avarana. Again, I, the individual, cannot be Īśvara. No, cannot be the creator. No. The difference between Jīva and Īśvara is due to Avarana. So there is basically the upādhi, the dharma of the upādhi, ajnanam, etc., or Avarana is totally imputed upon that self. I am Īśvara? You are saying yes. Look at this example. The particular ocean, wave in a Pacific Ocean, well, meets a wave from the Atlantic Ocean. And Atlantic Ocean means definitely there is oriental stuff. And therefore, so, and this Pacific, the wave from the Pacific Ocean says, well, I feel I am so small, insignificant. Look at this ocean. And then say, you are not small. You are all. Who says? Atlantic Ocean. The wave from the Atlantic Ocean. He is a teacher. And he teaches to this wave of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean wave feels, I am so small. Look at this. My God. And here there are so many waves which are so big. I am going to be crushed. Then says the wave from the Atlantic Ocean. Well, I got exposed in the India. Well, but the Atlantic Ocean, you consider Indian Ocean, everything together. Okay? Got exposure to the teaching. What is the teaching? Well, the teacher from the India said, you are all. You are ocean, he said. My God, at that time when I heard, I felt, I am wave, how can I be ocean? But then I understood. He had adopted a certain methodology by which I definitely understood. And that methodology I am imparting to you. I am a traditional teacher. Okay? So I am employing that method. What is the method? Look. You touch your head and that wave from the Pacific Ocean touched the head. What is there? Oh, it's water. Touch your middle part. What's there? Oh, it's water. Touch your feet. What is there? Oh, it is water. Okay. Now touch what is surrounding. What is in surrounding? Touch. Touch other wave or touch just what is in the surrounding. What is there? Water. So, who are you? I am water. What is surrounding is what? Water. What is ocean? Is water. You are water. Yeah, that's okay. I am water, ocean is water. Therefore, you are what? You are what? You are ocean. Please understand, you are ocean. I am water is one thing. Ocean is water is another thing. The real equation is the jīva and Īśvara. Jīva is Īśvara. I am ocean. If ocean is water and you are water, what's the difference between you and ocean? Let me know. What is the dividing line between you and the ocean? Nothing. And therefore, no, Swamiji, but I means a particular name and form, wave. Ocean means a huge name and big upādhi, huge name and form. But where is the upādhi independent of the water? Please let me know. What is the upādhi which is independent of the water? No. Therefore, a Vyashti upādhi or a Samashti upādhi is ultimately non-separate, mithya, from the water. It is, the water alone is Satya. Therefore, definitely you are ocean. You are Īśvara, which is Jagat Karanam, etc. If Maya upādhi and the Vyashti upādhi are real, then they really have a division. Then one who is having a Vyashti upādhi, that Jīva also is real. And one who is having a Maya upādhi, Īśvara is real. Then in that case, Jīva and Īśvara cannot be equated. If Jīva Īśvara Aikyam is there, definitely one has to understand, the jīva has to remove the avarana, that I am non-separate, totally identical with Īśvara. That's the thing. And therefore, you are the cause of entire world. Abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. That is the sixth mantra is saying this. Prājña is abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. We have seen the Sarveshvara, etc. Now the second word which we have to see through Bhashyam is Sarvajñah. You can see in page 28 in that book, in the first line, Ayameva hi sarvasya sarvabhedavastha jnata iti eshaha sarvajñah. And then antaryami word also is explained. Eshaha antaryami antaha anupravishya sarvesham bhutanam niyanta api eshaha eva. And therefore, here it says, Ayameva sarvasya jnata. Sarvasya sarvabhedavastha jnata means sarvasya jnata. So, this Prājña alone is the Sarvajña. We are talking about the deep sleep state. We cannot make a distinction here between these two. And so, and I told you there is the distinction itself is due to Ajnanam, etc. So, therefore, I am Sarvajña, means this Prājña alone is a Sarvajña. Let's put this way, Eshaha Prājñah Sarvajñah. So, Sarvasya Jnata. So, Bhashyakara explains Sarvasya Jnata. And what he says, Sarva Bhedavastha. Sarva Bheda. Bheda means what? Where is Bheda? Upādhi. Upādhi is a Bheda. Sarva Bhedavastha means Sarva Upādhistha. So basically, in all the Bhedavasthas, in all the Upādhis, one who obtains in all the bodies, right, as a knower. When? In deep sleep state? No. Well, what happens is, if Īśvara is the cause of everything, abhinna nimitta upadanam, then definitely he alone will be there as all the Vishvas. He alone will be there as all Taijasa, identifying with upadhis, even in a waking and dream state, etc. also. So in a waking state, the same Īśvara is present in all the Vishvas, in all the subjects, in all the knowers, and knowing the objects in the waking world. Therefore, definitely he alone is present as all the knowers in the waking state. He alone is present as the knower in a dream world and knowing the dream world. Therefore, that Īśvara is called Sarvajñah, who is there by whose blessing, while this Vishva and Taijasa is able to know the respective world. So therefore, Sarvasya Jnata, Sarva Upādhistha, remaining in all the bodies, identifying with all the bodies. This Īśvara who is present in the deep sleep state as a Prājña alone, identifies to various bodies in the waking and dream world, and then becoming a subject and knows the objects either in a waking world or in a dream world. Therefore, Sarva Upādhistha, Jnata. He becomes a Jnata through all the bodies. Like right now I am knowing few things. Well, definitely, by whose blessing? With the blessing of Īśvara. So whoever enjoys as a knowerhood right now, ultimately he is due to Īśvara alone. And therefore, even here Tikakara says that the Vyasacharyaji and all, they are called Sarvajña also. That's also their Sarvajñatyam is also due to the grace of Īśvara alone, who is a Sarvajña, and of course who is a Sarveshvara also and Sarvajña also. Therefore, they identified with the Vyasacharyaji, etc. also, because that's an example which has been given in the by the Tikakara. So Vyasacharyaji, etc., they and others, whoever are there, they are Sarvajñas, but they definitely become a knower. Sarvajña means they were knowing many things, ultimately identifying with the Upādhi, but ultimately who is the one who is present in through all the Upādhis is this Īśvara alone. And therefore, with whose grace, even Vyasacharya and others have become a Sarvajña. And that Īśvara is ultimately present as a Antaryami. So, there even this one, the Sarvajñatvam of the Vyasacharya and other is very limited. Whereas Īśvara is in a true sense, he is a Sarvajña of being Abhinna Nimitta Upadanam. So he is the creator of the entire universe, including the various bodies of Vyasacharya and everything. And therefore, their Sarvajñatvam is limited, Īśvara's Sarvajñatvam is not limited. So Sarva Bheda Avastha means remaining in every state of every jiva, identifying with Jagrata Avastha, Sapna Avastha. And so one who remains in all the bodies and minds in both waking and dream, and becoming a individual, the subject, and knowing the world, respective world. So Eshaha Sarvajñaha. Then next word which makes it more clear, Eshaha Antaryami. So Bhashyakara explains, Antaha Anupravishya Sarvesham Bhutanam Niyanta. So Antaha Anupravishya, having entered every Sukshma Sharira, we are talking about a deep sleep state. So same Īśvara enters into all the Sukshma Shariras and all the gross bodies also, entering into that, means behind every Vishva and every Taijasa, well, he is the one who is a Niyanta, who is the controller of all the living beings. He doesn't control basically through some kind of a reins, etc. Well, Vishva and Taijasa experiences varieties of the objects in the world through various karmas. And so he is the one, Niyanta means he is the karma-phala data. So through various karmas, the jiva is controlled. So-called jiva. We are now discussing jiva Īśvara here. It is one, but so if it is not known, avarana is there, then I will take myself as a receiver of a karma-phala, and Īśvara becomes a karma-phala data. So in a respective world, well, whatever you experience through various karmas, he is a niyanta, means he is a karma-phala data. He is basically through the fructifying karmas, not independently through the karmani, well, each jiva basically experiences, and Īśvara is one who gives a karma-phala. So this is how Sarvesham Bhutanam Niyanta. Bhutanam, Jivanam. Sarvesham Jivanam Niyanta. This is a jnanam. This I am not a jiva, but I am Īśvara, that's a jnanam. But if it is not, then Īśvara is looked upon as Antaryami, who definitely controls every jiva through their various karmas in both the states. What states? In waking and dream. In dream also you experience certain objects and have a sukha dukkha also in a dream, even in a waking state also. So same Īśvara identifies with the various bodies and becoming Vishva and Taijasa. And as a jiva then, well, if avarana is there, then identification with the body means, well, you will take yourself as a Vishva. You will take yourself as a Taijasa. Well, in reality, you take like that, but it is not, really speaking. But identifying with this, well, the same Īśvara is, Samaji, Prājña identifies, that's true, but Prājña is Īśvara ultimately. And therefore, basically Īśvara, well, if the avarana is there, then even though Īśvara identifies with the gross body, subtle body, etc., but due to avarana, then, well, I'll say I am Vishva, I am a waker, I am a deep sleeper, I am a dreamer, etc. Same Īśvara ultimately, when becomes Antaryami, becomes a karma-phala data for this jiva for all the Vishwa, for as a Taijasa also. So he controls like this by remaining in everyone. That's how this has been said as a Anta Anupravishya, having entered into Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira, identifying with them, and Sarvesham Bhutanam Niyanta. Ataeva. Then it says Eshaha Yonihi. Eshaha Yoni, as I told you, is Upadana Karana, material cause. So Ataeva Yathoktam Sabedam Jagat Prasuyate. So Ataeva means being Prājña, and Yathoktam Sabedam Jagat Prasuyate. Everywhere you have to put Eshaha. Eshaha Sarveshwaraha, Eshaha Sarvajñaha, Eshaha Yonihi, Eshaha Antaryami. This Antaryami also is the same Prājña. But Prājña is Antaryami, that is a knowledge, that is the exposure to the teaching. Exposure to the teaching is to remove the distance between so-called the distance which is born of ignorance, that to remove that distance, only the whole exposure to the teaching. So Prājña is Īśvara alone. And we are talking about, how can you say something, but that is knowledge. It's a third pada of you, Atman. Please understand, this is knowledge. Therefore, Swamiji, here sometimes you say Sarvesham, he is Antaryami, karma-phala data, and I am a jīva. And then here you equate Prājña with Īśvara as Antaryami also is this Prājña alone. Sarveshvara is also this Prājña alone. Sarvajna also is Prājña alone. And on the other hand, you say, well, he is definitely Antaryami and means he controls all the jivas. Therefore, Jiva and Īśvara are different. How can you say then Prājña and Īśvara are one? Avarana is there. Then you become a Jiva. Jiva is due to Avarana only. Otherwise, you are not a Jiva. And therefore, basically, if you Sarvesham Bhutanam Niyanta, you are basically controlled, and he is a controller. If this division is there in your mind, and that division is in form of, and that division is experienced in a waking state, that division is experienced in a dream state, in a deep sleep state, even that division is not experienced, you are Īśvara. Even experientially that Vestishamashri Veda also goes away. Therefore it says here, Prājña is Īśvara, Prājña is Sarveshvara, etc., etc. So anyway, please understand. So don't get confused. Swamiji is confusing us. No. So when you say Niyanta, and he's a controller, and the Jiva is controlled, well, definitely it's Avarana. But basically the same Atma appears as a Prājña and Īśvara. That's how Prājña is equated with Īśvara. Same Atma, Vishva and Virāt. Because if you understand you are Atma, everything is incidental. Vishva is not incidental. The waking world is incidental. Both Vishva and Virāt are incidental. If they are not incidental, they will always be there with you. As long as you, the Atma, exist, they also will exist. They don't. Every day they go away, without leaving a bit of residue. If anything persists of a waking world, definitely waking world means identification with the gross body. If it persists, there is no deep sleep, there is no dream. There is no dream. Yeah. And therefore, but Swamiji, what about this waking dream? People in a waking state also go to dream. That happens. But at that time, he doesn't have an identification with the gross body. If you are identified with the gross body, and means you have a awareness, self-awareness with respect to time and place, then you are basically in a waking state. If that goes away, definitely, and you are imagining something, that after 10 years, where I will be, and what type of family I will have, all that. So you are identifying somewhere else. Therefore, even waking, we are coming to that, don't worry. In a waking state itself, all the three states are there. That's a different thing. I don't want to confuse, but it's coming here in the Kārikā itself. In the Kārikā itself, it is said, don't think that in a waking state all the three are not there. All the three are there. Yeah. So therefore, but all the three are there, therefore Swamiji, then there is exclusion. There is exclusion. Even in a waking state, when you are a waker, you are waker. You are a dreamer, then you are not waker or deep sleeper. That we'll see that later. So Ataheva, being Prājña, well, and Esha Yoni, this Prājña alone is this upadana karanam of the entire Jagat. Therefore, Yathoktam Sabedam Jagat Prasuyate. Īśvara generates Prasuyate. Yathoktam. Yathoktam Jagat means what? Mentioned in the first two pādas, the waking world, waker, dreamer and the dream world. So that Sabedam, and that has definitely all the differences. Their differences are there. All these things. So in both the waking state and dream state, whatever has been discussed on the creation, well, in form of subject, object, etc., that is prasuyate by this Īśvara, who is present in the deep sleep state as a Prājña. So iti eshaha sarvasya yoni. Sarvasya. So sarvasya means of this creation which is there in both the states. Yathoktam, which has been said in the third and fourth mantra. And since he is a yoni, he is the upadana karana of everything, well, Upanishad itself says further, well, prabhavapyaho hi sarva bhutana. So basically, he is a prabhava. He is a prabhava, means from whom everything is born, emerges. And apyayaha. So prabhava means a srushti karanam. He is from whom everything is born. And apyayaha means laya karanam. Apyeti asminiti apyayaha. Apyeti means liyate. Liyate asminiti apyayaha. So apyayaha means he is a laya karanam also. So Īśvara is a srushti karanam. Since he is upadanam of everything, sarvasya yonihi, he is a upadana karanam of everything, therefore he is prabhava apyayo, bhutanam prabhava apyayaha. Prabhava apyayo means prabhavascha apyayascha prabhava apyayo, dvanda samasa. So basically he is the one from whom he is a srushti karanam, prabhava karanam, and apyayaha, he is a laya karanam. So if he is a srushti karanam and laya karanam, definitely he is a sthiti karanam also. Therefore, so he is a srushti sthiti laya karanam when I say he is upadana karanam. If he is a srushti karanam, merely I say he is a nimitta karanam. As a sarvagnya and sarveshvara, he is a srushti karanam. Antaryami also, srushti karanam. Because giving a karma-phala bodies and everything, if you say. Through the upādhi, again, please understand, same Brahman, same Atma, please never leave that. Oh, Īśvara, again, srushti karanam. So, no. Anyway, so this is how word sarvagnya, sarveshvara is referring nimitta karanam, yonihi, etc. refers to upadana karanam. So, Vishva and Taijasa we can say is a karya-pada, and Prājña is a karana-pada. And Atma is chatushpad, so fourth pada is Turiya, which is distinct from karyam and karanam. There is no karyam and karanam. All that is there is Atma. Sarvam hi etad Brahma, ayam Atma Brahma. Therefore, all that is there is Atma. Any vritti, aham vritti, Atma. Idam vritti, Atma. Outside world, Atma. Everything. No, go to dream, Swami. Yeah. Dream thought, Atma. Dreamer, ahankara, Atma. Dream world, Atma. Dream cognition, Atma. Triputi, any triputi, in any state, is you alone. And what obtains in a deep sleep state is you alone. Even the division, there in two pādas, we have to say that. That's how in a waking we have to say, you alone are Īśvara, you alone are Īśvara, because you all the time feel a difference between you, the subject, ahankara, and the world, the object. So that subject-object division, you all the time feel, but that subject-object division totally go away in a one state called sushupti. Therefore, this division is not real. Not real. And therefore, if you identified with aham vritti, if you say, I am ahankara, not knowing yourself as Atma, the Brahman, then definitely the world is different from you. Right? The world is different from you in a waking state. And therefore, you, the consciousness alone, now I have to call it as a external consciousness. Bahish prajña. Now in a dream state, well, you don't, the consciousness doesn't go out in form of vritti, remains inside the mind. So in form of a dreamer and the dream world. So we say it is a antah prajña, internal consciousness. So external, internal, because the vrittis go out, or the mind goes out, you can say. So with respect to mind, you are out, external consciousness. With respect to mind, you are internal also. As a consciousness, you are the very basis of everything. External, internal. That division itself is not there in consciousness. It is with respect to the upādhi. That there is, like there is a sky, or there is a space, there is a space inside the pot. There is a space outside the pot. There is nothing like that inside, outside. There is one indivisible space. With respect to upādhi called pot, in fact, in the wall of the pot there is a space. Therefore, the whole pot is in a space. Keep this much. But Swamiji, pot and space are two things. Here it is even not that. Sarvam hi etat brahma ayam atma brahma. Sarvam. Sarvam means sarvam. Sarvam means what? Whatever was there in past, whatever is there in the present, whatever is there will be in the future. All. And whatever is there within time and whatever is there beyond time. First mantra, just look into that. First mantra. Therefore, all that is there in form of a subject object in this state, waking state, dream state, is you alone. The division is due to identification with the ahankara. Saying yourself, claiming yourself as just ahankara, not knowing yourself as the very basis of ahankara, the truth of ahankara. The ahamvritti is nothing but this a mithya manifestation of this consciousness. You are very much, you alone are in the form of ahankara and the entire world. Anyway, so this is how now we have the three padas we have covered. So before going to fourth pada, we should have a coffee break. And therefore, I am not giving you a break now, but we should be say coffee break. So that Gaudapada Acharyaji thought, let us give a break. It is too much. It is too much sweet, Swamiji. Too much. Everything Atma, Atma, Atma. Okay. So therefore, Kārikā brings a Kārikā here for this first 6 mantra. And then we will have a 7th mantra also with the Kārikā, that is later. So now 9 Kārikas are there, with which will definitely give a essence of what has gone by in 6 mantras. Kārikā and Bhashyam are entirely different. Bhashyakara defines every word of the mantra of the Upanishad. Kārikā will definitely give a gist of the mantra. He will not go word by word. He will not. That's the difference. Anyway, but Bhashyakara of course has given define every word, like we have seen. Sarveshvara means that also Sarvagnya, Sarvasya Sarvabheda Avasthaha Jnata Sarvagnyah. Antaryami, Antaha Anupravishya Sarvabhutanam Niyanta Antaryami. Yonihi, well, etc. Everything has been defined very clearly. So, Bhashyakara has definitely given commentary on the Upanishad mantra word by word. Bhashyakara has given a commentary on the Kārikā also word by word. But Kārikā, the grandfather of Bhashyakara, right? The grandfather of Bhashyakara, Gaudapada Acharyaji, has just given an essence of mantra. Somebody, Kārikā gave an essence of Bhashyam. Kārikā is a grandfather. When he was there, Bhashyakara was not even born. Okay? And therefore, definitely. So this is what it is. So, introducing Kārikā, Bhashyakara says this. Atra etasmin yathokte arthe ete shlokaha bhavanti. Atra means with respect to this. Atra is a Vishaya Saptami. Atra means etasmin Vishaye. With respect to these 3 padas, with respect to what we discussed in mantra 3 to 6, or 6 mantras, you can keep either way. So, with respect to this, which is what? Etasmin yathokte arthe. With reference to the teaching presented in this last 6 mantras, or with reference to the teaching presented from mantra number 3 to 6, which is nothing but the 3 padas of the Atma. With respect to that, ete shlokaha bhavanti. These shlokas, these Kārikas are there. This is how Bhashyakara introduces Kārikā. And now let's read first Kārikā. Bahishprajño vibhurvishvaha hyantah prajñastu Taijasaha Ganaprajñastatha Prājñaha Eka eva tridha smritaha. So this Gaudapadacharya gives a observation regarding these three padas from mantra number 3 to 6. Mantra number 3 to 6 he mentions in one. Then he will say something else also. That is Kārikā. This is right now in keeping with the mantra. This is the first chapter in which Kārikas will explain the mantras presented in the Upanishad, 12 mantras, plus few Kārikas, which is explanation of these mantras, is the first chapter. And that is looked upon as a Upanishad by great acharyas. Not just mantra. 12 mantras, that is Upanishad, that's it. No. The Karikas which is present in the first chapter, along with these 12 mantras, this Karikas which is nothing but an explanation of these 12 mantras, entire thing is looked upon as Upanishad. That's how first chapter is called Agama Prakarana. Agama means Shastra. So, this is how, the Karikas have a status of a Upanishad. Amazing. And Bhashyakara, of course, has given commentary on both mantra as well as Kārikā. So, what he says, Kārikākara says, Bahishprajñah vibhuhu. This external consciousness. Bahishprajñah. Because there is consciousness, nothing else is there. So, consciousness with the names and forms, incidental attribute, all the time remember, exactly like the water and the wave, exactly like the clay and the pot, exactly like the gold and ornament. Ornament is not a substance. Ornament is incidental attribute of the substance called clay called gold. There is no tangibility in ornament. Even though we say it's a golden ornament, it's a wrong thing to say. It's an ornament in the form of a gold. Not that the golden ornament means gold is as the attribute. Gold is as the attribute of the ornament, of the bangle. A bangle is an attribute to the gold. Incidental attribute. The day you decide, you get a gold, melt. It's incidental attribute. Entire world, keep this thing in mind, entire world which is in the form of subject object in any state is your incidental attribute. You are the substance. Therefore you are vastu, they call. You are vastu. The incidental attribute is called a vastu. Puja Swamiji's word. Even here also it's coming. Vastu agrahanam, etc. Vastu anyatha grahanam, etc. Everything, this will come. Vastu means a tangible thing, the real thing, the essence of a thing, the Atma of a thing, without which this incidental cannot exist. You exist, incidental come and go. That's what the state is. Bahishprajñah vibhuhu. So, vibhuhu, he is Parameshvara. He is vibhuhu, vedam bhavati. This Bahishprajñah, the external consciousness of this waker, is nothing but all-pervading consciousness, Parameshvara. And then, now, Vishva, say, waker. So, Bahishprajñah Vishva, the waker is nothing but this external consciousness, and he alone is in the form of Samashti, Vibhuhu, Virāt. And then, Antaprajñastu Taijasaha. He Antaprajña, he means indeed, that alone, means this Vishwa, which the external consciousness, alone is this internal consciousness. Alone is this deep sleeper consciousness. That's how he, indeed. So Vishwa is Taijasa. We will be seeing, don't worry about it. He Antaprajñastu Taijasaha. So whose consciousness is internalized, Antaprajña. And that is what Taijasaha. Why? Tejomaya Antakarana Rupatvat. Well, so the self-shining Taijasa, self-shining dreamer, does not carry any light from the external world. Where Vishwa, of course, external consciousness is there, and that's how you are able to objectify everything, of course. But then all other luminaries are also there, sun, moon, etc., fire, lights, everything is there. So you objectify, you basically illumine the world, but Vishva is, we cannot call it as a self-shining, even though it is self-shining only consciousness, nothing else. But Vishva, we are not able to say because external things are there. If sun is not there, we are not able to objectify, even though you are a Vishva. You will be objectifying that, well, there is no sun right now, and therefore I am not able to see the objects. That way you objectify. But basically, Taijasa is just, in his light, a whole dream world shines. There is no, these lights, sun, moon, etc. are absent there. So Antaprajna, the internal consciousness, is this self-shining dreamer, etc. Yeah. What is the time? My God. And then Ganah Prajña. Ganah Prajña. Ganah Prajña. Let me give you just example and then I will stop. It is exactly like a woman who visits a sari shop, right? A sari which is folded one, right? And you want to buy. You won't buy a folded one. You will tell the shopkeeper to unfold. When you unfold, you see all designs, differentiated designs. In the border, one type of design. In between, there are various types of design. So this whole, the cloth alone with this all differentiation is these two states. And folded, undifferentiated, is the same sari, same cloth. You are that cloth. From where you brought this? We have already seen canvas example, remember? No design in the sari exists independent of the cloth. All differentiation, all names and forms, both the states. You are that cloth. You are that sari, that cloth, in which all the names and forms remain as non-separate from you. Differentiated, two states. Undifferentiated, it's like a folded sari. Differentiated, unfolded sari. That's where we get our ragadveshas come then, right? For the names and forms, for design. That's how you say it. Seeing design you buy, not the folded sari you buy. Names and forms then attract you. Design attracts you. If it is not without design, you will not bother whether they unfold or unfold. They do not unfold. Folded, you don't buy. Once it is unfolded, names and forms. My God, what a wonderful design, you say. Cloth, sometimes people get literally cheated. The cloth may be very cheaper, but names and forms, design attracts you. I will wear and throw away in 6 months, but I like this sari. You don't like the cloth, you like the design. Names and forms. Could you follow what I am saying? But you never understand. Every design is just a cloth. It's cloth. Even a tip of the design is a cloth. Tip of that, they make sometimes a mango kind of a design. The whole mango is the cloth. If you don't get attracted with the design, you will see what is the cloth. Good quality cloth you will buy. But if you are attracted by the design, names and forms, you will compromise with the real cloth. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.